But I'm watching this movie, and if you haven't seen the movie, spoiler alerts. Because I was watching the movie just closely a second ago, because I like to do my decoding. And I love decoding. And the movie I was watching was Leave the World Behind. And in the movie Leave the World Behind, it starts off with a woman having an idea. She wakes up, she's packing her bags. Before she consults with the man at all, she's packing her bags. And she's doing something, and not based on some logical conclusion. She's doing it based on a woman's instinct, a blink of an eye thought. And he's like, what are you doing? Where are you going? He's like, well, listen. She like, I had this idea. I found this house. I want to go take a vacation. And he like, yo, when the hell you decide this and when in it? She like, it's today. And he like, yo, where the hell, but why today? Like, where the hell this come from? And so she's explaining, Julia Roberts' character is explaining to Ethan Hawke that, I was looking out the window and I was watching people. And, well, first she said she was sun gazing, watching the sunrise, and she had an intuitive spark thought. She had a spiritual realization. She said, I don't like people. I need to get out the world. I need to go into nature. Now, the thing about it, if you watch the movie, right there next to her bedside, there was a book called Blink. And in this book called Blink, it's about thinking without thinking, right? It's not about logic per se. It's about synchronicity. It's about the imperceivable thoughts that allow you to come to ideas and conclusions. Why do we figure out things? How do we know things won't work out? How do we know things will work out? Why do we do things? What is the underlying mechanisms behind our thoughts, right? So it was, and then in her studying the book, there was, or in her library, there was more books. There was a book called New Noise. There was a book called Witches. There was a book called Phenomenal Woman, right? There was multiple books. There was and I can go deeper into it. There's a book by, what's this guy name? I had to get y'all the answer in a second because this is going to go even deeper into the movie, right? But I said, okay. He listened to the woman. The woman didn't have to come up with something logical. Baby was just like, I want to go to nature. That's what I felt. That's the right thing to do. Can't ask me why. I just know, right? And the guy was like, well, shit, I'm with the vibes. I'm with the vibes. I ain't even got to run this show right now. I'm with the vibes. Thank you, baby, because that's what you're here for. You supposed to give sparks of inspiration and realization and know when we supposed to move. You know what I mean? Get out the world, go tap into nature. You feel me? It's like, okay, that's heavy with it. How can you even measure? How would you know how to measure that, right? How would you know how? That ain't in a woman's degree. That's not in the money that she has. None of those things. That's in her being in tapped and being in tune, right? She has to be viewing nature and having realizations. That's a whole nother higher level. You feel me? So they decide to go take a trip. They hop up, take the trip, and it happened to be the perfect time to leave the world behind. It happened to be the perfect time to leave the world behind. Listening to the queen. You feel me? As the bees do. Hey, I'm going to pack the kids. We going to move and we going to get out there. And, even in that little thought, because every movie, right, gives you breaks down. Every movie gives you hints of what is the behind thoughts. What are the ideas in the movie? In Matrix, they talked about books that was in the Matrix that he had to read. In this movie, it does the same thing, right? Because they're letting you know the ideas behind. You're not just watching programming to just be enjoyed as a entertainer, right? Entertainment, as they said, and Ethan Hawke was a professor at a school that studied media and English. But in the studying of media and English, he would break down a lot of these different things in the movie. And he would let you know what the symbols mean. I wanted to do this on YouTube, so that's probably going to be, I'm not going to knock down everything that I want to get to, but I'm going to get into some things. There was deers in the movie, and the deers constantly served as signs. Now, he gave you the codex to this. In this movie, you don't have to overthink about it because the movie gives you all of the subtle hints and codexes all throughout the movie, right? And it's all synchronicity. It's all numerology, right? All within the movie. Now, there was deer in the movie when they first seen it. The woman noticed the deer, and he was like, look, it's beautiful. Because she just gazed into nature. Everything about her was, she wanted to leave the world behind. She didn't like people anyway. You know what I'm saying? And it was, she kind of had a little bit of a Karen-esque type of personality. But she was staring at the deers, and he was like, oh, that's a good omen. He said, it's a good omen. He said, you know, at least that's what the Mesoamericans believe. Because remember, he a professor, so he be studying these things. And if you go into Mesoamerican belief, they look at the deers, yes, as good omens. They look at them as guides, protectors, right? Protectors in the spiritual realm. You know what I'm saying? That can foreshadow, you know what I mean, or forewarn you, right? So nature provides signs to let you know what's to come, only if you have the mind's eye to be able to tap into it. Because she may have been looking at the deer as just, you know, a fine, good omen, but he was the one deciphering. He was like, oh, baby, that's a good omen. That's the breakdown right here. You know what I mean? That's a spiritual guide. You feel me? So it shows you also the masculine and feminine balance, right? In that situation, if you want to survive within this world, because what did he have? He had a family. You know what I'm saying? And it was showing, you know, the behavior of a family surviving, tapping in, not to high logical, intellectual, survivalist skill sets, but perceptive, intuitive intelligence, right? Which is something that often cannot be measured. So there's multiple ways to look at this particular movie, and there's multiple ways to look at society, right? When you lack those things, it's very hard for you to, you know, find success in this world. You know, family is success in this world. You know, and without that, you're going to find yourself deeply troubled and worried, trying to figure out the whys and not ever being able to know. It's all about the flow, right? So anyway, in this movie, you know, even when he woke up, I was looking at the nightstand. The cup had a 6 on it. His clock had a 6 on it. And you have to understand, you know, how to see signs and how to recognize signs. And my whole life, I call myself 19 Keys because I tap into, you know, synchronicity. I tap into the ability to recognize signs, observe them, and then define them for what they mean, right? Now, there's a book, and you all can look at this author. And let me see if I can pull it up here. And this will give you even further insight if you want to go deeper. And I suggest that when you watch movies, you know, movies, yes, are foreshadowing. Movies are programming. Movies are meant to change your normalcy bias. Movies are meant to make you think things are normal before they happen by you having a kinesthetic and visual response to it, meaning that you see it over and over and over and over, that you become familiar with it. So by the time it happens, right, you're not shocked by it. You're not repulsed by it. You don't fight against it. It's already normal to you because you've lived it and or experienced it. Right? That's what movies do. They program you. And the thing about even hearing conversations like this, a part of it was like all throughout the movie, you know, as the father showed up, and he showed up in the middle of the night at his house where the white family was staying in his house. And he showed up in a suit and a bow tie. You know what I'm saying? Bruh showed up, suit, bow tie with his daughter, but his family is incomplete though. He ain't got his woman. You know what I'm saying? He showed up with an incomplete family. He don't have a son either. You know what I'm saying? All he had was his daughter. Not all he had, but that's what he had. So that was his perceptive guide, right? As he was trying to, you know, make sure that she didn't get scared. Ruth could only speak the truth. That's all Ruth did. Ruth was ruthless. You know what I mean? She always spoke her mind. You feel me? And she was always constantly seeing the signs, making sure that Pops wasn't in denial. But the whole reality is Pops didn't need no more signs. He already knew what was going on. That's how the black man operates. Black man, his mind was already in tune, but that's because he had been in rooms, you know what I mean, to where he was dealing with them white men, and the white men, you know, as he was moving, being a spook who sat beside the door, they was giving him game. You know what I mean? He was like, listen, man, shit about to come to an end. You know what I'm saying? I wish I could take you, but this circle I'm involved in, you ain't got enough money to be a part of. He was on some Jeffrey Epstein Island, you know what I mean? goddamn ritualistic things going on. He was like, shit, just because I got money don't mean I'm in them circles. Best thing white dude told him was like, listen, man, shit go hit the fan. But he gave him a breakdown of the colony collapse. He gave him a breakdown. And one of the things about the movie that when I first watched it is just this feeling of looking for this villain. This feeling of looking at who's the enemy, who's the villain, who's the person that's doing the thing. And what you realize was that the reality of it is that the fear came from other Americans hating each other, being, and that's what this society does to us, though. We hate each other for everything. One is young, right? One is, black. One is white. One is, whatever it may be, Mexican, speaking a language I don't understand. You leaving her behind, and as the movie was going on, it was the feeling of being stuck in America with Americans that was the most daunting and dangerous thing about the whole thing. Because they say, the collapse what happened is they knock out the grid, you know what I mean? They get everybody in chaos. And then the Civil War would happen from the people living amongst each other. A people that is not in cohesion, a people that don't have the same ethnics, values, rules, principles, same belief systems. Everybody is so individualistic in America. You know what I mean? That's the most dangerous part about it. Every movie we watch that's apocalyptic, whether it's a zombie movie or whatever it may be, the most dangerous thing is always the people. Americans are America's worst enemy. The biggest threat to America is not even other countries particularly. You know what I'm saying? It's civil war. It's the fights. It's the presidents going at war with each other. It's the Congress going at war. It's the Republicans, the Democrats. It's the whites, the blacks, the Mexicans, the Jews, the whoop-de-wops. It's the war of the Americans that's supposed to be living the American dream, but it's an illusion. You know what I'm saying? And then throughout the movie, it kept relating to a time of nostalgia, a time that doesn't exist anymore. They started playing all black music in the movie. Music nostalgia of the 70s when there was love in the air. You know what I'm saying? They playing nothing but black. I'm listening. I'm like, wait a minute. They playing all black music through here. What's going on? So, it was interesting because you think about that time when you heard that music. It's nostalgic for a time that no longer exists. That's a world that's left behind. You feel me? That world is no longer here. Nostalgic for a time of family and love and friends. What is America now? What is the temperament of America? What is the emotions of America? What is the overall feeling and emotional, feeling that we get in America? Can you name the top 5 emotions that we feel? How we think about each other? What is the idea of where the world is today? But as we talked about in the video, y'all should very seriously watch the episode with Dr. V Serious because we went over all of this. Your world. The world is not the planet. Even though they showed the planet is going to be fine. The planet was never, people worry about, as they show like the oil tanker hitting the bank of the beach, and the white lion, which is a whole nother discussion to go into, the ship that landed in 1619, black people coming over here. You feel me? That's a whole nother story to go into. You feel me? But as we talked about that, it's like, the world is not the planet. The world is your worldview. Each person that they talk to had a different worldview, whether it was the survivalist, whether it's the black man, whether it's the black girl, and the white woman had all these fake microaggressions towards each other. You know what I'm saying? Throughout their whole entire relationship. She telling her, listen, I don't want to be somebody that's, living a dead-end job only to realize that they hate themselves. Right? So she breaking her down and whooping her every single time they talk. Because the relationship between black women and white women and the feminist movement is fake. It's a microaggressive relationship that's built on, so-called mutual, misandry towards men, or particularly freedom in a world of not patriotism, but patriarchy. But in reality, you know what I'm saying? We need each other. So anyway, there was a lot of signs in the movie, right? And it was deep. And one of them was about, the little girl kept watching Friends. So, the little girl was one of the first people to recognize the ship. Nobody listening to the little girl, right? Children in nature. Nobody listened to the children, but the children have a wise, intuitive sense about the world and observation. You know what I'm saying? But nobody was listening to her. She seen the ship coming first. Nobody cared. She was trying to tell them about the deers. Nobody seen the signs. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's paying attention. The little boy, he's an incel. All he goddamn, on the phone, he trying to knock something down. He going through his puberty stage. He ain't paying attention to nothing. The little boy ain't on no P's and Q's about anything. The whole entire movie, it don't even seem like he knew what was going on, right? But he ended up being affected by it the most because he wasn't tapped in, the frequency got him. They start playing, there was this frequency sound that played throughout the earth because a lot of it was also talking about sonar technology and sound waves, right, and things of that nature. And music was a huge part of it. Even when they showed the people the state and they was driving off, the compound, it was almost in shape of a musical note, and it was in shape of was an old record player. You know what I'm saying? You got to go back and you got to go watch the movie and you start seeing a lot of it. But, it was a very, I think, introspective, thought process that you go through as you watch the movie and you go deeper into the layers, and it really speaks on where society is. You know what I'm saying? It really speaks on society. Now, I do want to go back to the black man showing up in a suit and tie. This smart brother, though. You know what I mean? Intelligent. You feel me? Now, the type of music he listened to the oldies. He ain't listening to rap music. They ain't show him he had a nice record collection. He listened to the symphony. He got his daughter on higher frequencies. You feel me? So they on completely different vibrations. You feel me? The brother was smart. So there was also this scene when Ethan Hawke, the father, had left, and he seen this plane. And this plane started dropping these leaflets. You know what I mean? The messages, like Death to America or whatever it is. Now, if you study, right, in the nation, they talk about the mothership coming through and dropping leaflets, letting you know what time it is during the fall of America. Man, you got to pay attention to the hour, man. In the Babylon Tower, you get to understand it. It was heavies. It was heavies on it. It was heavies. Hold on. We about to go deeper into it because some people can't catch everything because they don't know what's going on. You feel me? And when that black man showed up to the door, the woman was like, you grab a bat. He's like, why you think I got a bat? And it was this expectation that he was supposed to automatically, instinctively be a protector, and he wasn't. You know what I mean? But then he tried to rise to the occasion, but then he was like, you know what? Forget that. Call the police. You know what I'm saying? But they showed his character not being the biased one. Whether it was out of fear or a real true understanding, he was the one that was like, nah, we cool. You feel me? But the white woman was the one like, I don't trust things. And don't to say that her instincts weren't right, but wasn't to say that her judgment, wasn't fair, because if somebody shows up at your door in the middle of the night, you're going to be like, yo, who the hell are you? I probably wouldn't have let him in my damn self. But that goes more into the mindset. We don't have a trusting mindset as Americans. We do not trust each other. There is no community. There is no neighborhood. None of those things exist, right? You don't trust thy neighbor. If you have a society that does not trust thy neighbor, you know what I mean, and you don't trust the people, then what society do you have? It is already fallen. And it is easy for an enemy to exploit those things because society has become demoralized, right? So if you're worrying about other nations like BRICS or people having an attack on America, that's already been happening through the demoralization of America, not trusting each other. You know what I'm saying? We don't know, you can have the same color as somebody, but if you don't have the same ethnic background, it's not the same. Yeah, it's like somebody pointed out, they showed she wasn't trusting a black man with the white dude as you thought he was cool, but Shit, he didn't trust the Mexican lady. She's speaking in Spanish, can't understand. And as soon as you think he cool, he drove off on her. Like, damn, he thought you was solid. But it just shows the disconnection between. There was a book, and it's by Thomas Pynchon. Now, Thomas Pynchon is known for writing very complex novels, right? He had several novels, I think of maybe about 5 of them between 1973 and 2013, right? And one of them was called The Bleeding Edge. And The Bleeding Edge was set in Manhattan after the dot-com boom. And after the dot-com boom and before and after the 9/11 attacks, right? And it investigates the tech frontier, right, with a plot involving fraud, cybersecurity, and conspiracy. He has another one where it's a psychedelic noir that follows private investigator, through the 1970s in Southern California that weaves together characters that have plots touching on the impact of the Manson murders and the end of the psychedelic era. So he speaks on like the end of these eras, right? Because you almost got the feeling that the black girl and the black dude was a part of some kind of cult and they was coming to kill them at first. But that's, the conspiratorial thought process that kind of goes through the mind. He had another book, that was a historical, hold on, no. The first one was about a woman who unravels a conspiracy involving an underground postal service. And this book was supposed to be about postmodern literature and a mixture of absurd and serious things. And then the other one was about the end of World War II, and it explores the design, production, and dispatch of rockets in German military, and it dives into the subjects of technology, paranoia, and the intersection of preternatural with historical events. Now, when you add all of these up, it speaks to the depth and complexity of themes of entropy, conspiracy, human behavior, and the impact of technology and culture, right? So a lot of, his literature things were utilized in the background of this movie to give you the kind of full sense of it, right? And, that's where we are today. One of the biggest threats, today is they considering to be the sun, right? They say the sun, has this black hole open right now and is leaking more radiation and solar energy than ever before. So the fear is that, those solar winds can take out technology. The fear is that, a cyber attack can happen and it will leave society at a disadvantage, and that's what will cause chaos. That's something that the powers that be are currently like running game and simulations on for a threat like that, right? Does anybody, living in nature or living in the city rather, do you have any, survivalist skill sets? If shit hit the fan, would you know how to do anything? That's the question. And the average person, no. Right? If we lost the internet, right, what could you do? The satellites go down, what would you do? That's one of the biggest threats to society. Now, I would imagine at some point in time, this is going to happen. It's almost inevitable as we become more and more dependent on it. And then there was another scene that was probably to me, this scene was the most chilling scene of the movie. Can y'all guess what scene that was? This is the most chilling scene of the whole movie to me. It was the scene where after they heard the noise, or was it when the boy T fell out? It was the scene when they was trying to leave the city. They said, you know what? We're going to hop in a car. We're going to leave the city. I'm done. And they see all of these Teslas on the road. And the damn Teslas is just piled up on the road. There's hell of them in traffic. And you don't see no people. In the whole movie, they only interact with like 2-3 people. They're not interacting with nobody. For real. You kind of wonder, like, where the hell did everybody go? Right? They don't tell you that in the movie. And all of a sudden, she started reading, and like, these cars, are self-driving autonomous vehicles. And then you see a Tesla coming down the street. Then all of a sudden, the Tesla driving itself like a weapon, coming at them hella fast. Then she got to hop in the car and they got to dodge the Teslas. And you like, oh, snap. But then you like, wait a minute, the grid is down, but somebody has to be controlling those cars. And it's like, there is, of course, conspiracies that, you know, they want everybody to go into electric cars because, you know, they'll be able to shut them down and control them at any point in time. You got millions of electric cars that's autonomous vehicles that's on the street and everything is electric. It's a very real possibility that they could be hacked. You know what I mean? And what if you hack a million cars at once and you send people off the road, or you use those cars as weapons? You know what I'm saying? Like, you hack somebody's car and somebody get assassinated, you know what I mean, utilizing a car. It was just so many different things that can go, and you start thinking about this electric so-called future that we go into, because a lot of what they was talking about was the end of oil, right? The end of this energy source of oil, right? You see the big oil tanker ship, and the man had made a reference about, you know, oil being utilized and how that represents, you know, America. And if the oil is if the oil is down, and the girl was talking about if the power plants are hacked, it was a lot of it talking about energy sources, right? So they talked about, you know, the power plants, they talked about the oil, and then you got the electric cars. The movie is supposed to serve as one big sign, but a sign of possibly what's to come, right? Definitely made me not want a Tesla, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if Tesla approved that, but it definitely made me not want a Tesla for a minute, because I'm like, when you really think about it, you know, this is everything in the movie was so possible and probable. You know what I mean? That is almost inevitable, almost completely inevitable, right? Once those ideas are out there and once it's in there, it could be something that happens next year. It could be something that happens 10 years from now. And we'd be like, yo, remember that happened in a movie? And people just start composting their conspiracies on the net. Or if there's phones down, there's nothing to post. You know what I'm saying? But it also talked about how media serves as, you know, both entertainment and it's both as programming and an escape. Right? The little girl was constantly trying to escape, you know, and being entertained in the world, to entertain herself, to distract from what was going on in the world. All she wanted was connection, because she wasn't getting no connection. She wanted to know what happened to her friends. You know what I'm saying? And it was, I think, you know, you got Matthew Perry, who died by mysterious causes, which was definitely interesting to throw in all of these. But the best movies nowadays are movies that get you talking. Best movies nowadays are movies that put the stuff right in your face. And that's what they're doing now. You get the Tyrone movie, where it's the conspiratorial movies and ideas and the programming being thought and thrown at you, because they know these are the ones that get people talking. But at the same time, it's obvious programming. Obvious programming. And you got to be wary when they start putting out movies like that, because Hollywood is, you know, is part of, you know, a bigger agenda in the world. You know what I'm saying? They put out these ideas, and some of these ideas are backed by a big government. Some of these ideas are backed by the CIA. You know what I'm saying? In order to control a society, you have to program them first on things to become normal before you want to implement it into society. I walk outside and I see robots driving up and down the street. These robots got wheels. They don't have legs, right? Because if they had legs, then, you know, people will be weary and fearful of them, because in the movies, that's what the robots that you fear look like, right? But as long as they got wheels, people don't mind robots going up and down their street with cameras on them, delivering food, replacing jobs. What does that represent? You have to normalize these things before you can truly implement them.